What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday and I'm back with another video. Today I want to reply to a question, and it's actually a topic I'm talking about quite a lot with my clients as well, about the food tracking and intuitive eating, how to actually learn to live without tracking and know you're doing the right things. If you go on social media, you will hear half of the people talking about how tracking is complete bullshit and nonsense and waste of time. In general, you will hear so many different opinions and approaches, and we have to understand one thing, that everyone will benefit from completely different approach, which doesn't mean that nothing is perfect, nothing is superior. It really just depends on your needs, on your preferences, and on your lifestyle. But quite oftentimes I see some of the clients, they are fine with food tracking, they are really good, they keep their nutrition simple so it's easier to track their foods. But for some people it can be overwhelming, it can be time consuming, and it's turned them completely off. But they still have the desire to learn about nutrition, get better, know what food choices to do without tracking everything. So I will give you a few tips today on how you can start, how you can combine these two, what are the benefits on each, when for example we would choose to track our diet in different scenarios, and when we are actually fine to eat intuitively, and what it actually takes to be able to eat intuitively but still healthy, eating well. It's the morning and I'm gonna start with my breakfast, then I go to the gym, and then I'm obviously going to my post-workout meal. So I'm gonna kick off this video with these two meals because they are usually the most consistent meals in my meal plan for the last few months. All I do, I'm just changing the macros obviously now as I'm getting into surplus, which means more and more carbs over the last few months. So these meals are really consistent, and this is something you can start with to ensure you have enough fuel for your training, you have enough fuel for your recovery. I would say this is a great starting point. Like if you want to level up your nutrition, if you really want to eat to support your performance and your physique, your progress, I would start with these two meals and kind of keep them consistent. Really keep them every time you go to the gym, have them around the training. It doesn't have to be exactly what I eat, it can be something different. I prefer sweet. This is my favorite meal of the day, my protein oats or my cream of rice after training, sometimes even cereals, but it can be completely something different. It can be some bagel, sandwich, whatever you like. But as I said, for me these two meals are always measured, consistent, and I never miss them. This would be, for example, a good starting point for you if you are about to putting a little more effort into your nutrition, because it can be overwhelming. And some people do usually wrong the fact that they just go all in and it's too much. Most people have very little to no knowledge about the nutrition, and you really want to start slowly, not changing everything, because it will completely turn you off. It won't be really sustainable from the start. So you want to kind of keep the excitement and just the progress coming gradually and learning as you go, finding what works for you, rather than most of the time you see copy someone diet that some of your favorite person on Instagram. You want to really find something that will work for you in the long term. But don't get me wrong, I used to be there as well. Many years ago, when I started to go to gym, I had completely messed up a relationship with food. I struggled with eating disorders, and I did all things wrong. I understand how confusing it can be and frustrating it can be, especially if you feel like you do everything right and there's no progress. So let's get started. Let's have a look at my pre-workout meal. Let's just quickly jump to the gym. Let's see what is for post-workout meal, and then I will meet you here back again. So this was a little bit about pre and post workout meal. Now obviously I understand that not everyone train in the morning, not everyone will be able to eat oats before and after workouts or like this kind of pre and post workout meal like me. You can always have anything else. You can have some sandwich, bagel, protein shake, smoothie. But even if you are training afternoon, if you're working, for example, 9 to 5, I would personally make sure that my pre and post workout nutrition is nailed. If obviously your goal is to get better results, support your training, support your recovery, get a little bit more educated and aware about food and know what you're eating, this is what I would start with, to track pre and post workout meal, to have this ticked off, make sure that you're eating enough, and then you can keep the flexibility around. Now, obviously, if you're working 9 to 5, you might need to make sure that your lunch is ticked off, because that's gonna be probably the more important meal. Or if you have actually more hours in between lunch and training where you can actually fit some snack in between, that will be case as well. So we can again have something smaller, maybe just some small snack that is rich in carbs, rich in protein. Again, this will be something that you would track to really like make sure you're supporting your training. After training, same. If you're training in the evening, I guess you won't be eating cream of rice or porridge like I do, even though I quite like protein oats for dinner. And to be a little bit nerdy, oats actually help with melatonin levels, which is sleep hormone, which promotes good sleep. So why not? You can try as well. It can be like your little sweet treat in the evening if you have, for example, carbs left. You want to make sure like you have something actually nice for recovery. Then snack during the day. So either if you have something like small prior to training, if you're training evening, you have that big stretch between lunch and training, so you have some window for a small snack, definitely fine. If you are someone like me who is training in the morning, then you have post-workout meal, then you have lunch, and then you have snack, and then dinner. I'm that afternoon snacking person. So even though I have my lunch, I immediately, within quite a short period of time, usually think about something nice, some snack, some dessert. First tip would be to make sure your lunch is actually a proper meal. So this is the reason why you don't want to just starve yourself on plain salad. Still till noon, you're kind of trying to be good, and then afternoon you're just gonna turn into snacking crazy person. Have normal lunch, and then in terms of snack, I found very useful to approach it as a normal meal. So instead of like having protein bar or having just some crisps or banana or just protein shake mixed with water, I would always keep around like 300, maybe even 500, depends on how much calories you have. I would keep something like that in within this range for my snack, and have some small like meal. You can even have small bagel tin or normal bagel, just small sandwich. On my non-training day, I have, for example, 2 eggs, bagel, little bit of cheese, and some fresh vegetables. Nice. It's actually filling. It's way better than to have chocolate protein bar for 300 calories or whatever, which won't make you satiated at all. So this would be little tips on what I would focus on, why we actually want to track. There are 2 sides of spectrum, and I've been on both sides. I used to struggle with eating disorders, and I used to track for a year and a half in a row, like maybe even more, every day. And it was a time when I was in a very bad place with my mental health, with my relationship with food and myself, and it was causing me a lot of stress. I was restricting, I was obsessing completely about the calories that were in the app. If I went over my calories, I would be just completely mad and stressed. So I know how it can turn the bad way. I know how it can really put a lot of stress on you. So you want to make sure that you are aware of how this makes you feel. Tracking is not something you have to do forever. Definitely not. It's good to approach it just as a tool to help you to learn about the food you're eating. Because as soon as you have some kind of awareness, it's way easier to do better food choices on your own. So many people always start to track, some of my clients, and they were actually so surprised how many calories they eating from food they think they are healthy, for example. It's really just a tool to help you learn about the nutrition. Now, especially if you are someone who really wants to improve your physique, your performance, you want to really support your training and really like not waste your time, this is why I would recommend to track that pre and post workout nutrition in the first place as a starting point, for example. So you just ensure yourself that you have enough protein and carbs around your training, and then eventually you can track occasionally other meals as well. Doesn't have to be completely all or nothing that you will track everything. Obviously, in some cases it's good to do it. If you feel okay, just track one day everything you eat and see where you are without changing anything, without adjusting anything. Just whatever you're going to eat, you're just gonna put into the food tracking app and see where you are. This would be the first starting point. And this will already give you a lot of information about how much and what you are eating, what needs to change. Because again, it's not just about how much you're eating, but many people struggling with eating enough protein. And also like females tend to just avoid or completely restrict the carbs, which obviously if you are dieting, carbs will be the first macronutrient we manipulate, but we want to still keep the carbs on the plan. We still want to have them, especially around training for energy and recovery. So this will be a starting point. Now let's talk about like why is the tracking actually beneficial. So as I said, it will help you with food awareness, learning about your nutrition. It's just a tool. You won't be tracking forever. It's just for a short period of time to help you, especially if, for example, you're trying to lose weight, you don't track your food, you think you do everything right. If I would be obviously your coach, first, what I would say, okay, you're gonna try to track your food to see if you're actually eating how much we think you're eating. It can be helpful for that. It can also be helpful, for example, on the other side, in my case, when I'm actually trying to eat more, build muscle, which is not easy as well. You want to make sure you're eating the right foods as well. In this case, I need to make sure that I'm actually getting those macros I supposed to eat, because believe me or not, some days I'm actually behind. I already eating now 2,800 calories on my training day, which is quite a lot. And some days, especially when I'm busy during the day with the baby and we going out and just work, then whatever is happening, I sometimes don't get all those meals in, or I'm just like, I'm not hungry. So this is another reason why I, for example, make sure I track the meals and I have the awareness about how much I'm eating and if I got everything I'm supposed to get. So this is the really main reason and main benefits of tracking is the education, awareness, being able to understand, do better food choices. And then also if you have specific body composition goal, whether it is weight loss, whether it is muscle growth, gain, and especially, for example, if you feel like do everything right but you don't have the results you want, this would be the case when the tracking can actually help you. Because you know, even these days we see loads of marketing for people who don't understand the nutrition these days, especially high protein on everything. And these foods can be great starting point for someone, but they're actually not the best. You know, you can survive without them and get way better nutrition, actually way cheaper. But for some people it can be great starting point. I'm not saying a word, but I wouldn't definitely build my diet around these meals that are marketed as a high protein, low carb, low sugar, whatever it is. I would really focus on like whole foods. These can be kind of like occasional option, for example, when you're on the go or you did a meal prep or just whatever happened. The intuitive eating then can be helpful when you have already some kind of awareness about the nutrition. This can be gained through the tracking and learning about food, reading the food labels, being aware of the foods you're eating, what you're choosing. Then you actually are able to do these choices without tracking the food. I would say also need to be in a good place in terms of your relationship with food, because for example, me, when I struggled with eating disorders, I was restricting myself a lot. I just wasn't able to be around food. I felt uncomfortable. I used to struggle with binging on peanut butter. I always buy the whole kilo of peanut butter and not bother, like I'm completely fine. 7 years ago, I wouldn't be able to don't touch it. I would be just binge on it because I was trying to restrict it. I knew it's a high in calories, it's a high in fat. I was trying to eat as little as possible. It was just that food that was triggering me. In this case as well, like intuitive eating can be good, but you also want to make sure like you have good relationship with food. You are not stressed, you are not restricting yourself, you are not tend to binge or overeat, purposely skipping meals, starve yourself, and all these kind of things. Intuitive eating then can be also great when you don't have like any specific body composition goal. So when you are not trying to purposely like cutting down, lose fat or build muscle, eat more, train intensively. It can be when you are just enjoying where you are, enjoying your physique, enjoying your strength, your health, your well-being, your training. You are able to do good food choices 80% of the time. You are able to enjoy 20% of the time, have social occasions, be absolutely completely at peace peace around food, not obsessing, not stressing, seeing and maintaining the progress. So how to use both these approaches in your nutrition to help you, whatever your goal is, whether it's lose fat, build muscle, if you are just want to improve your nutrition, improve your knowledge, education, do better food choices and relationship with food. You can start, as I said, firstly, for example, just track for some period of time. Either you can just see, if you have no experience at all, just track whatever you eat in the day to see where you are. Then I will start, for example, meal prepping and putting a little bit more awareness into my pre and post-workout meal, as I said. And a good tip here is, if you're looking for some balance with your nutrition, if you feel like every day you just completely throw off, I would always focus on have at least 3 meals that are kind of like on the plan. So you can either track them, you can meal prep them, or just like put some awareness into them, know what you are going to eat. So for example, usually it could look like your breakfast, which you can prepare in the morning or day before. If it's some like overnight oats or something like that, I will make sure that my lunch is also complete meal, not just plain salad and chicken, not some deli whatever meal deal. It's nice complete meal. Then, for example, your snack, again, whether it's your pre-workout or it's just like normal afternoon snack. And then eventually your dinner can be something flexible. Let's say dinner with your partner, with your family, something you don't track, you don't obsess. It's nice meal that you enjoy mindfully. You don't overeat, you enjoy the food without obsessing, tracking. Or for example, you go for coffee with a friend. So instead of snack, you have some treat with your friend with coffee, and then dinner you have something nice with your family. You can track it, or again make something healthier, maybe weight or track like your protein and your carbs, for example. And just like some approach that will help you to stay organized or aware of your nutrition most of the time. So then when you, for example, go for the coffee with a friend, or when you go for the dinner with a partner, when you go for brunch on a Saturday, Sunday, you really like don't have to worry about it, because it won't change, it won't hurt your progress. It's gonna be one meal in 4 days, in 3 days. It's fine. More you restrict yourself, or more you're like obsessing and trying to control it, more you're gonna struggle and be stressed and feel frustrated about food. You're not gonna enjoy social occasions. And I'm talking from my own experience. I remember when I struggled a lot, like the food noise was crazy. I just didn't like to go somewhere for food, because I was just constantly analyzing how much calories everything has. If I'm gonna mess up, I didn't enjoy, I felt guilty afterwards. Now I'm in such a good place. I know that I'm sticking to my nutrition most days, especially if you're going to work from Monday to Friday. Nothing is really happening during the day. You go to work, then you have some training, maybe meet up with friends. During the week, it's way easier. Around work, try to keep it consistent, simple, don't overcomplicate it. So then these occasions are just enjoyable, normal occasion where you can enjoy whatever you like, and you will actually find yourself in such a good place where you are able even to do better food choices, like where you are able to not overeat. Just because you're going for pizza doesn't mean that you have to smash whole pizza. You will really find yourself, more you allow, more you find the balance, more you realize that how much the good nutrition, the consistent nutrition throughout the week is helping you with the progress and how you're feeling, how's your energy, how's your mood, how's your digestion, how's your sleep. You will suddenly understand, okay, it's actually worth it. Don't get into the every temptation. Many of my clients struggling, for example, with people at work, with colleagues who bringing biscuits and sweets and jellies to work. In my workplace, this is happening as well. I'm fine. I'm okay. These meals actually don't cause me any temptation, because, okay, I can have it whenever I want, but do I want it right now just because it's here? No. But it takes time. This is really like the intuitive eating, as I said, is when you actually get some awareness about food, when you get good relationship with food itself, with yourself, when you are able of your hunger cues, your cravings and stuff like that. One takeaway here is that no approach is superior. It's just a tool. Even for example with diets, let's say you want to lose weight and you don't know if you do keto, if you do carnivore, or I don't know, even the whole of whatever diets are there. Every diet works on same principle, which is calorie deficit. they say when you need to eat less, then your body burns. And the way you choose to do it, it's completely up to you, up your preferences, your lifestyle. Because some people actually really benefit and work really well with, for example, intermittent fasting. I couldn't. I just love my breakfast. I love carbs. Even some people do really well on keto diet. In my opinion, more people who don't train, who don't have as much physical activity, who don't go to the gym, who just trying to lose weight based on their nutrition. For me, I can't imagine to take off all the carbs. And yeah, maybe I actually would survive, but do I want to? No, because I would feel super restricted. And I know the whole process will be so stressful. So everything is just tool and approach, and you need to find what will work for you. In the first place, you want to get a little bit of the knowledge about nutrition, which I think is the first step, which I believe the tracking is a great helpful tool to start with. Now, there are also situations where you want to maybe be aware of if the things don't go wrong direction. For example, in terms of tracking, you don't want to the track take control over you. As I said, from my own experience, I felt super stressed when I couldn't track something. Or I was fixated on the numbers. So when I didn't met my calories, when I went over, I would feel super stressed. I had to track everything. I had to analyze everything. When you're ignoring your hunger cues, just restrict yourself based on your calories in your tracking app. And I know, again, if you are in a diet, you have to be aware of that. The hunger is part of the game. But again, this would be part of when we're really talking about dieting itself. If you are someone who is just trying to get into the nutrition, learn about food, don't get obsessed about the numbers. And like I saw with my clients, have some range. Don't just stick to the number because, yeah, your daily steps, for example, are never the same. Your calories might vary as well. So instead of focusing on every day, tick off on 100%, have some range, and then look at the weekly average. That would be your guiding point, whether you are trying to build muscle gain or lose fat. Some red flags with intuitive eating is when it turns into the emotional eating. So you still like, oh yeah, I'm eating intuitively, but you actually eating based on your emotions. You are, for example, very stressed, but you keep telling yourself, oh, this is what I want right now. This is my intuitive eating approach, but it's just like because you are stressed right now. It can be the issue when you, for example, trying to actually hit your calories, build muscle, and you are still like afraid of eating more, so you actually unconsciously under eating. And also it can become like an excuse for doing bad food choices or food choices that we want to keep for our little bit of occasional time. Or on the other side, when you actually, for example, feel like you ate well for the first half of the day and then you making excuses so you can completely get off the track, and this is happening basically every day. Both approaches, I think, are really good, very beneficial. Again, it's always individual. It always depends on your lifestyle, your needs, your preferences. But in general, tracking is a really good tool to help you to learn about the food you're eating, start learning about calorie and nutrient density, be able to do better food choice without tracking. It's not something you have to do forever. It's just tool. Same like intuitive eating, same like any other approach. But I would say really what makes the whole difference when people understand food they're eating, which is calorie density, nutrient density, because usually these days we see, as I said, those marketing labels, high protein, healthy foods, clean eat. But if it's something healthy, that's perfectly great. We want to eat healthy diet. But for example, in the case of fat loss, many times happens that people are not aware that healthy food is also high in calories. For example, nuts are healthy but very high in calories, peanut butter, all these kind of things. So we want to be able to recognize that based on where you are, whether you are trying to actually lose fat, whether you are trying to just maintain, enjoy a more flexibility diet, just eat well for your health and well-being, or when you are actually want to make sure that you're eating enough when you're trying to build muscle. Then let's say, for example, gonna track for a few weeks or a month. You can try after by yourself and see how you're feeling, what food choices you do without tracks, how able you are to do good food choice, how you're actually feeling around food, and how you actually feeling in yourself in terms of your health, energy, mood, well-being, sleep, stress, all these kind of things. Guys, I hope you got some tips. Like always, if you have any questions, drop them down below. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, and please, little reminder, don't forget to subscribe, support my channel, comment, like. I will really appreciate it, and I talk to you in the next